Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Here we go again, the same pattern, the same tropes, the exact same behavior. A shooting occurred at the Kansas City Championship Parade, and so you know what that means. It's time to politicize this horrible event for probably, let's say, the next 3 to 4 days, I'd assume. Push all the same BS talking points, ignore all the relevant facts, in fact misrepresent the facts, and then of course go back to normal as if nothing ever happened. The same exact pattern of dishonest behavior. In other words, more left-wing hypocrisy. Let's have a conversation. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's start off maybe with a small little news segment that basically gives you the TLDR.
At least 8 children were among the roughly 24 people hit by gunfire in a shooting at the end of today's parade celebrating the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl win. Fans ran for cover as the gunshots rang out. At least one person, a DJ for a local radio station, was killed. Authorities say 3 people are in custody, but details about the suspects and what led to the gunfire have not been made public. Fox 4's Blake Hansen is in tonight with the details on the shooting. Blake.
And Stephen, Heather, there were a lot of law enforcement in the area when this happened who charged toward the gunfire. Still, it did not change the fact that there were many shot and wounded. The numbers likely still not final, and there remain major unanswered questions, including identities and, more importantly, a possible motive for the suspects. Video shows the moments gunfire erupted outside Kansas City's Union Station, with thousands still in the area following the end of the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. Officers sprinting toward the sound of gunfire.
There was a shooting at the Kansas City Parade the other day, and of course every leftist is doing what you'd expect. 9 children who went to a parade to celebrate their Super Bowl team, 9 children now being treated for gunshot wounds. When are we going to collectively realize there's a gun problem in our country and do something sensible for our kids? Gavin Newsom tweets, "We cannot accept the status quo. We need to pass a constitutional amendment to prevent gun violence nationwide." Karine Jean-Pierre this morning addresses the press and says, "We need to ban assault weapons in high-capacity magazines."
We've now had more mass shootings in 2024 than there have been days in the year. Gotta think about that one. Through executive action and implementation of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the President has taken action to keep guns out of dangerous hands by expanding red flag laws, enhancing background checks, and cracking down on gun trafficking, while also making historic investment in violence prevention. But as we all know, it is not enough. Congress must act. Congress needs to act. And it is shameful that we have not seen more action on this. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, require safe storage of guns, pass a national red flag law, enact universal background checks, and invest in proven solutions that reduce violence. We know these actions can save lives, and our communities literally can't afford to wait.
And so, of course, everything has instantly been politicized. Gun control this, gun control that, gun problem this, gun problem that. And speaking of politicized, some people even went as far to push unhinged wacko conspiracies like this.
So a mass shooting literally just happened at the Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. Thank you, Fox News. I wonder which side of people got their whole base whipped up into a frenzy because they were mad about Taylor Swift. I have no idea who these people were that shot this thing up, but I can take a guess. This is such bullshit. This is why we need to vote these MAGA people out of our country. This is bullshit. It shows that there's at least 1 dead, 8 to 10 people shot. And this is not over football. This was over politics, I guarantee it. MAGA and idiots who support Donald Trump.
Yeah, it was probably a right-wing MAGA nut angry at Taylor Swift being the center of attention. All right. So, a whole lot of politicizing, a whole lot of talking, a whole lot of claims, but no actual, let's just say, concrete solutions or acknowledgement of fact. Karine Jean-Pierre says ban assault weapons in high-capacity magazines. Gavin Newsom essentially and the rest of these Democrats alluding to the same thing. What exactly would that change? See, leftists are attempting to paint this picture as if this was some sort of mass shooting targeting random people. Of course, we've seen those before, and those are horrifying. Hard to say what the solution is, but that's not what happened here. These are the perpetrators. What it actually was a group of young individuals who got into an argument, some sort of confrontation, and they pulled out a handgun and started shooting indiscriminately. But according to Democrats, at least for the next couple of days as they virtue signal on this topic, the problem is guns. It's the inanimate object itself. That's the problem. In what universe does that make sense? In what universe is government going to solve this problem? The problem isn't guns. The problem is people. The problem is a culture of criminality that you leftists seem to endorse and subsidize. Let's have a real conversation here, shall we? Democrats tell you the problem is the inanimate object. Meanwhile, Democrats in their political home of Hollywood celebrate horrific music that glorifies gang violence. Actually, here's a great example. I don't know if you guys know who this guy is. This is Anthony Fantano. He's a YouTuber who does music reviews, but he doesn't only do music. No, he does politics. He's a vehement left-winger. Well, just the other day, he said this in response to possibly reviewing Kanye West's new album.
This is completely unreviewable trash, and here's why. Question: what is even the purpose of a music review in the first place? I can say, at least in terms of my own intent, that when I do a music review, I hope to achieve a couple of things. One, give the viewer pause and cause them to think about why it is they do or don't like the piece of music or art that I'm doing an overview of. Or two, excite people to give the music that I'm talking about a try. Those are the two things I want to do. Problem: neither of those goals are possible in any scenario that involves reviewing this album. Newsflash, since 2022, Kanye has made it his mission to go full-on anti-Semite, spouting insane conspiracy theories, talking about how he loves Hitler, and at some point I think he realized how much he up with all of that, so now he has to own this total dumpster fire he's created.
He called it Unreviewable 1.0, I think, or 2.0, something like that. He refused to review the music, even though he had said this previously.
Now, I don't give a shit if he burned down some churches. I don't care if he murdered a guy. I really don't care if he's racist. If he comes out with an album in the future that I find interesting, I will welcome it with open arms.
He refused to play Kanye West's music because Kanye is just such a horrible person. But this is the same guy who's constantly glamorizing and glorifying horrifying music that goes on and on about shooting people directly in the face. Of course, it's one anecdote. It's just, one leftist guy on YouTube. It's an anecdote, sure, but it's also a microcosm of what we see as a whole. Democrats tell you the problem is the inanimate object, but the problem is obviously much deeper than that. And Democrats tell you this while they push to defund the police, while they metaphorically handcuff police officers, stop them from doing their job, while they implement southern border policies and substance policies and laws that do nothing but benefit the cartels, the most violent organizations in North and Central America and South America. They tell you the problem is the law-abiding citizen and the inanimate object, but it obviously isn't. I'm not going to get into certain statistics, but just take a look at the statistics, and very simply you'll come to the conclusion that the problem is, let's say, highly focused. The vast, and I mean vast majority of gun violence happens in the inner city, and it's mostly gang-on-gang violence. And that's most likely what happened here. It wasn't a raging MAGA lunatic angry about Taylor Swift. It was a group of thugs doing what thugs do. The idea that restricting firearm purchases is going to solve that problem makes absolutely no sense at all. As if criminals are just going to abide by the law. Because that's what criminals are known for, right? Make a certain weapon illegal and criminals will just stop carrying that weapon. Hello, leftoids. Not sure if you knew this, but all the guns that those criminals are in possession of, those are illegal, unregistered guns. In many cases, they're stolen guns. You can ban AR-15s and high-capacity magazines all you want, it will change absolutely nothing. If somebody with evil intentions plans on carrying out a heinous act, they will do so regardless of whatever the laws on the books are. The only real way to get out of this problem is, honestly, the old convention, which Democrats tell us is, an archaic, racist, in some cases they go as far as saying racist view or policy proposal. The only way to get out of here is to arrest your way out of here, just like the president of El Salvador is doing in his home country. America does not have a gun problem. America has a gang problem, a youth gang culture problem, and now increasingly a violent left-wing extremist problem. And the idea that you're going to address gun violence without addressing the actual elephant in the room is laughable. Democrats virtue signal as if they care so much they don't give a flying rat's you-know-what. They don't care. They simply want to make the political point when they could take advantage of tragedy. And this story, trust me when I tell you, it's gonna go away real quick once the perpetrators' identities are made public, because obviously that won't fit their tertiary narrative that they'd love to use as the sort of undertone here. Racial this, racial that, MAGA right-wing extremism. These people don't care at all. They simply want to take your guns away. They want more control so they can continue to advance their authoritarian legislative agenda. If they actually cared about the kids, they would be in Chicago doing something. But instead, they'll do the typical media circus tour. After every tragic event, they'll say the darnest things, all while ignoring the actual core facts of this situation. You don't want what happened in Kansas City to happen again. Maybe it's time to start arresting criminals. Maybe it's time to start using the RICO Act on underworld criminal gang organizations instead of Donald Trump and his associates. But obviously, that's never gonna happen now, is it? And you know what? That kind of proves that everything the Democrats do is political. It's always aimed at pushing forward the message, especially during a campaign season. They're trying to put gun control back on the menu, not because they care so much about the kids, not because they care so much about precious human life, but because they care about one thing and one thing alone, and that's power. They are full of it. It's incredibly obvious. If you can't see it, well then, I don't know, maybe we're just watching a different show. The problem isn't Rick with his hobby farm shooting cans of Bud Light on his property. The problem is whatever Hollywood is manufacturing with their glorification and glamorization of thug culture and criminal activity. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.